I think there's always a temptation as a writer to be clever. And I think this was an exercise in being unclever and just being extremely honest. The Harris Project is a nonprofit founded by a mother who lost her son to not just an unfortunate lethal overdose of drugs and alcohol, but also some acute mental health disorders that went untreated. She founded the project to help raise awareness around that correlation between mental health and substance use, because nobody seems to be addressing it.
The film itself is showing the feeling of somebody who's going through the experience of having this correlation between the two, and how people in her life and society as a whole are missing this connection while she's having this internal struggle. The idea of a drinking game was this beating drum of this repetitive structure that could be filled in with, at first, what seems like just a drinking game, but then becomes all the symptoms and struggles that someone with co-occurring disorders goes through.
Every line of copy within the entire film comes from the direct mouth of somebody who's experienced co-occurring disorders, either firsthand or secondhand. So it very much is a real film made by, for, and with real people.
It was a back and forth communication to completely rewrite the script until we got to something that felt really genuine.
A lot of it was even crafted on set with help of the talent, since the talent actively is in recovery with co-occurring disorders. So she had her say. Other talent put in their lines, especially in the opening of the film. The director certainly threw lines out there. It was very much a collaborative effort.
Drink if you have to drink to be here.
Nobody.
Drink if you don't know why you just said that.
Well, Gen Zers definitely weighed in. They had some feedback on our first couple rounds of the script. They were very opinionated about some of the terminology we were using. There were definitely lines in the script that didn't feel relevant to them.
I think we were trying to figure out kind of it's like an organic scene where maybe they're shooting some selfie content with friends, or, some light TikTok thing, and they would just shut that down immediately.
They hate it when corporations tell them how they TikTok.
Yeah.
They called us on that pretty hard. But through those interviews, we were able to land in a place that they felt was authentic. We were able to mirror their language back to them.
They were the final say on what felt real to them, and couldn't say no to that.
I think there's always a temptation as a writer to be clever. And I think this was an exercise in being unclever and just being extremely honest, which is a different skill set for a writer, but a really, I think, important one for young writers to have. Well, there was a line in the brief that was, "Don't be euphoria."
We were thinking about how to portray substance misuse. There was a lot of back and forth on what felt appropriate to show in the film. We wanted to feel raw and genuine. We also just needed to make sure that we weren't triggering people who were watching it. We didn't want this to feel traumatic. We also were really careful to make sure that we weren't glamorizing it. So it was really this balance between not making it feel like a horror story and also not feel like the best spring break you've ever seen. It needed to fall in a middle place where it felt real, but didn't feel glamorized and didn't feel like we were trying to scare people.
The ending was definitely an interesting one. We actually went into talks with directors without actually knowing what our ending was going to be. We had a temporary ending in. We weren't 100% sold on it. We rewrote it a couple times through interviews and landed in a place that we felt really great about going into the shoot. I think everybody was really feeling the strong conclusion. And then it was one of the decisions on set that we got there. And again, the ending that we had written just wasn't feeling as powerful as just what was unfolding naturally on set, which was just this moment of kind of like stunned silence.
Drink if you're afraid you won't wake up tomorrow.
The ending reflects how it is kind of a feeling of not knowing what to do, maybe a little disbelief, maybe not wanting to engage with it. So it was a real choice to kind of leave it a little bit open for people to kind of be emotionally receiving this news, to kind of serve as kind of a wake-up moment for anybody who's watching this who maybe is having that epiphany, to kind of emotionally take in how they feel about it and kind of give them kind of a next step to think more about it.